On today's show, some sights and sounds from Atlanta Hawks practice on Saturday, as well as some mailbag questions and some bonus audio/video from Trae Young and Dejounte Murray. We'll have all that and more coming up.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1314 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Sunday evening into Monday. And thank you for joining us, as always, on the podcast, making us your first listen each and every day. Check us out across platforms. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, all those fun places on the audio side, and of course, YouTube on the video side as well. Today's show is going to be sort of a grab bag of sorts. We'll talk about the sights and sounds from practice on Saturday, where the Hawks open things up after media day on Friday. Then some mailbag questions, and then by popular demand, people asking for this a lot. At the end of the podcast, we'll have some video and audio from Dejounte Murray and Trae Young from media day. If you missed it over the weekend, and I definitely encourage you to catch up on all of this stuff on Friday. I did my full media day breakdown/rundown after being on site for media day festivities on Friday morning and afternoon here in Atlanta. And in addition to that, I posted some bonus video/audio with regard to Nate McMillan and Landry Fields talking in large-scale form. I tried to sort of summarize all of what was said and give you my own spin on things from Friday, but also the longer form, unedited stuff is more interesting to some people as well. So that's all in there. And then again, later on in this show, we'll have some words from Dejounte and Trae, the headliners, the stars of the team at this point in time, the new addition in Dejounte and the face of the franchise in Trae Young. Also, if you're watching on the YouTube side, you can see I'm not in my normal studio, so my apologies for that if there's anything different on the podcast today, but we'll be grinding it out as we always do. I want to get some fresh content to begin the week. So we'll start with Saturday. I was not able to go to practice on Sunday. I was at the mercy of folks like Lauren Williams and Kevin Chenard for updates on Sunday, but I want to take you behind the curtain a little bit from the first practice of training camp, which happened on Saturday morning in Atlanta. People may not know this necessarily, but the media very rarely gets to actually watch substantial parts of practice in the NBA. I know in the NFL, writers can kind of watch most or all practices at times, especially in training camp. In the NBA, though, it's still the same as it is in the regular season, which means very little actual basketball that you can actually consume. The open period for the media is almost always shooting or stretching or free throws. Very, very occasionally a small scrimmage, but usually when the season's going, you can kind of get not too much of a glimpse there than just some standstill shooting stuff, which definitely happened. And also because the Hawks have 20 guys in training camp right now, and because it was the first practice on Saturday, there were a lot of extra people around as well. Tony Russell was in the building on Saturday, for instance, and obviously the owner is around a lot, but he's not always there for practice, let's just say. So it was just busy. There wasn't too much to be gleaned beyond the standstill shooting until the interviews actually started. But I have some audio and some interesting stuff for you that was said by Nate McMillan along the way here. So Nate did speak first and longest of anyone on Saturday, just for also some more background. All of the players don't necessarily talk at practice. Nate always talks, but it's basically Nate and maybe a player or two along the way. So keep that in mind as well. But Nate spoke first. Some audio for you from that now. In general, keep in mind that practice availabilities are happening while there are still shots being taken, balls bouncing around the facility, and buzzers sounding. So I'm not going to do a ton of this during the season. It is tough to kind of parse through this, but because it's the first practice, that was a good opportunity to share some of this audio stuff. So a good thing to kind of hear kind of what it sounds like in a practice facility atmosphere. So I'll play the first clip for you right now from Nate McMillan.
I'm doing good. It was a really good first day. I thought our guys came in energized. We had everybody playing today except for Bogey. So we're going to be patient with Bogey and his recovery. But it was a good start, good first day.
How did everybody, I guess, deal with kind of like the physicality of coming back into camp and all the activities being ramped up?
Well, it was just really good to get back and get to playing. We wanted to start playing right away, so a lot of scrimmaging today, and some 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, and focusing on the defensive end of the floor. I thought the guys came in pretty good shape. We'll see tonight with our conditioning test, but I like our first day.
All right, from there, Lauren Williams of the AJC followed up on Nate saying there would be conditioning test and asked what he actually meant by all of that. Not a ton of specifics there from Nate, but he did say that he gave the team a heads up back in August about it happening at the start of camp, and basically said if they hadn't been doing anything in the offseason, they were going to fail the the test. Nate then told the media on Sunday, by the way, that everybody actually passed the test, so no concerns there on anybody. There was sort of varying degrees of excelling in those conditioning tests, but the Hawks are in two-day practices right now, so lots of busyness, but they were all able to pass that test on Saturday night. From there, the next clip I'm going to play you is Lauren asking about Jalen Johnson's potential role and how the backup power forward situation might stack up this season.
Obviously, we don't want to make any presumptions about who will kind of be in the second rotation, but as far as Jalen Johnson, what do you think he needs to do in order to stand apart from Frank and Mo?
Well, he's got to earn it. He's got to earn that opportunity. He's been here since August, and he's working on doing that. He's been playing and looking good. I thought last year his play in the G League, he's showing maturity and he's showing some confidence, and he's looking forward to the challenge.
Later on, by the way, Nate mentioned that Johnson and John Collins, of course, are playing the same position, but they're also very different players, which is something I've been stressing for a long time. Basically asking Jalen what he was going to be able to bring to the table and challenging him to give you something different from what the Hawks are seeing from other guys. Nate was also asked, by the way, about DeAndre Hunter and what he talked about at Media Day, that he's been trying to work on his ball handling, how that might affect his play, and here's what he had to say about that.
Well, as I told all of our guys, I want all of our guys to bring their ego, okay? And what I mean by that, bring your game. Okay, and so the ball handling is something that he felt that he needed to work on and get better at, and that will certainly help us. Adding Murray to the rotation and having Trae and Drake being able to handle the ball, it really will allow us to do a lot of things on the offensive end of the floor. So, looking forward to these guys showing them their improvement.
Nate mentioned later that the focus about ball handling is heavily based on drills and kind of what you're trying to implement, what you're trying to work on in terms of like moves and things to create space along the way, doing against live competition and open runs and practices so they can actually translate to gameplay. Interesting stuff from behind the scenes about like how guys actually develop skills. But basically, he said that in general, players want to add a thing or two every summer to their arsenal, which I can certainly back up from experience covering the league for a long time now. And that's something he talked about a lot with Hunter in exit interviews last season, which is the ball handling aspect. And Hunter's been on the same page with all of that stuff. Some other bullet points to touch on here from that first practice. Nate said they'll be picking captains this year, and the team will be voting on that before the actual opener of the season in October. He didn't indicate who that might be, but obviously spoke a lot about the importance of having leadership from guys on the actual roster. Captains can be varied in terms of like how they select those across team to team. It could be the best player like Trae Young. It could be older guys like Capella or Justin Holiday, or whoever you want to say there. So we'll see how that actually lands and how much impact that makes. But leadership is something that Nate definitely embraces on the roster itself. Also, the College Park staff has been involved in training camp to this point, working with the young guys especially, but also just with everyone across the board. Nate definitely said that was an emphasis across the board there. He did say that he wants the College Park staff to run their own system, but that it's also coming out of what the Hawks are doing in Atlanta to have that synergy from top to bottom, which makes a lot of sense if you're going into having guys go back and forth during the course of the season. Elsewhere, Nate talked about Trae and Dejounte, as you might imagine. A few questions about that, including one from myself that we'll talk about in a second. But you hear the force of Kevin Chouinard of Hawks.com in a second, asking about Trae being an elite passer and how it translates to maybe be a little bit different if he's off the ball a little bit more. And one warning here, there is a buzzer in the middle of this answer, so keep that in mind. Don't be startled. And here's that answer from Nate.
You and Trae both talked a little bit about, him moving off the ball some of the time. Mm-hmm. But he's also one of the world's, best passers. When he does that, does it get easier for him? Does it get harder? Is there an adjustment because he's in different spots? Like, how does that passing translate when he moves off the ball?
Well, again, that's 29 and 10. We're not taking the ball totally out of Trae's hand. I want everybody to understand that, okay? We know that that's been 29 and 10 for years. We now have the option to move him off the ball a little bit more, adding a guy like Murray, okay, and trying to take advantage of having another ball handler out there and really Trae developing another part of his game, playing off the ball. I feel that we can, we talked about that at the beginning of the summer, at the end of the season last year. That was something that we needed to do. We saw in the Miami series where the team, with him having the ball out front, teams just load up to him. Now we feel we have the ability to put the ball in Murray's hands. Some of our other guys, we just talked about DeAndre handling the ball. Now you can put the ball in Murray's and DeAndre's hand, and you run those guards through your offense and get them to the second side where the defense just can't lock into where they are. So we'll do that with our guards this year, and that is a part of the game that Trae wanted to develop.
You hear there that Nate did stress that they're not taking the ball out of Trae's hands, which is what you want to hear. Obviously, in my opinion, you want to have Trae have the ball as much as humanly possible, even if some of the addition of Murray takes him off the ball a little bit more. Nate kind of just almost downplaying that even as like a real thing is probably encouraging on some level. And then, of course, I got to my question that I'm going to play for you in a second. But as I've been talking about pretty much all summer, how the Hawks need to stagger Trae Young and Dejounte Murray, how I think it's very obvious they have to do that to maximize impact, how the roster is built for it in a lot of different ways. I do believe the Hawks will do this, but nothing is official until it actually happens. So I took a shot asking Nate about this right off the bat. You'll hear him kind of laugh the question off in a second. And for background, Nate really does not like to talk about strategy stuff to the media, but I at least had to give it a shot. So here's that clip right now. I know it's kind of early for this, but speaking about Trae and Dejounte, have you thought about staggering them a little bit, making sure one of them's on the court at all times? And how are you sort of approaching?
So you want to get into my?
I'm just broadly speaking. Let's say.
Absolutely. You think about that. You think about rotation. So 100%, yes. I have thought about that and the rotation and how we're going to rotate our guys and what it's going to look like when Bogey gets back to the lineup and. What it's going to look like when Bogey is not in the lineup. It's a possibility he may not play in some of the preseason games. So absolutely, I've thought about the way I want to rotate our guys.
Having somebody like Dejounte who's used to being a primary option, does that give you a little bit of freedom when Trae's not on the floor, that you now have this guy you kind of run some of the same stuff that you normally run because he's had that experience?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's a playmaker. We want to get the ball in his hands and give him opportunities. So, both of those guys are going to have to sacrifice when they're on the floor together. But I'm sure we're going to try to find opportunities for them to play on the floor where they're not together. So, yes, we will try to take advantage of all of that.
No surprise there, but obviously Nate acknowledging that he's always thought about it is good. He's never going to say anything about that. I do believe, though, that they're probably going to stagger, but we'll see if they actually end up pulling the trigger on that as we get closer to the season itself. Other than that, not a whole lot else. Capella did talk to the media. Joe and Johnson spoke briefly as well. Capella talked about lacking in the intensity of the first practice on defense, and Nate focused on that as well. Defense has been a priority for everybody up and down the roster. I'll talk more about that on the Friday show, the Media Day breakdown episode, and also Nate, Clint, when prompted by Kevin Chouinard, talks about how improving the perimeter defense makes his life so much easier, both in protecting the rim and also not having to leave his man on the glass, being able to box out and rather than having to over rotate, etc. It's definitely huge for Capella to be in better position. That goes for Kongwu, that goes for Collins. Anybody that's playing on the back line of the defense, having that better resistance on the perimeter is a nice thing for everybody involved. Anyway, that's some stuff from the first practice. Nothing else to hugely glean. I have a couple of questions in a second that I'll touch on mailbag wise, but first, a word from our sponsors on the show today. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. Football is here in a big way. As you've probably seen in the last couple of days, it's been football-centric a lot of the way in the sports world. And BetOnline is the number one source for all of your pro and college football needs, both betting and information-wise this season. Find all the latest developments across football, and that includes game matchups and news and podcasts at BetOnline. That includes, of course, all the content that you need for weekend slates in pro and college. BetOnline is a continued source as well for sports wagering information. That includes live betting, esports, and scores. BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to consume every sport you might be interested in, and of course that includes the NBA, which we talk about on this podcast all the time. There are plenty of future stuff already out there on the NBA front. That includes win totals and conference odds and division odds, title odds, individual award odds, and even look ahead to the openers in some of the key markets across the league beyond the NBA as well. BetOnline has odds and lines on college sports and baseball and MMA, boxing, golf, tennis, auto racing, horse racing, soccer, entertainment bets, and much more. And BetOnline right now on your computer and mobile device to learn more about all the trends and the action across the sports world. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, this first question is sort of practice adjacent, so I'm going to start with that one now. someone named Davis sent me a tweet from a very smart Hawks fan named Grant Shirley, who I actually follow on Twitter. Grant's very smart, and asked my thoughts about it. And Grant basically pointed out that based on jersey color from the Hawks leaked videos that they were actually putting out there on social media, etc., it looks like, in his words, the Hawks second unit in practice was Aaron Holiday, Tyrese Martin, Justin Holiday, Jalen Johnson, and Okongwu. And basically, Davis was asking me kind of what I thought about that. And first, this is not me picking on Grant at all, who is very smart and observed this correctly. My overall takeaway is that I wouldn't worry much about this at this point in time, is like who's playing with who in practice. There's injury stuff with Bogdanovich, who's still not playing for the Hawks right now. There's also like a lot of guys around. So I do understand noticing this and pointing it out, and it's definitely worth pointing out, but I wouldn't worry too much about this at this point in time, as well as there was a question that I got early in the day on Saturday about the Hawks like positional listings. Another thing I don't really care about at all. Like Justin Holiday's listed as a guard only. He's going to play a lot of forward this year. Okongwu was listed as a forward center. He'll play a lot more center than forward. Kaminsky listed as a center forward. Same sort of thing. AJ Griffin's only as a guard. I think he'll play some three, etc. So anyway, as for the question from Davis via Grant, I would say that, first of all, it's not a surprising group to have a second unit for me. Keep in mind that Murray cannot play in practice with both units. So obviously he is the backup point guard in my mind, but he can't do both at the same time. So that tells you why Aaron Holiday will be there. That makes a lot of sense to me. And then Justin Holiday at the 3, Jalen at the 4, and Okongwu at the 5 is the guys that I would project and hope to be the backups at those spots. Bogey is still out, or he would be at the 2 pretty obviously. But personally, I said this a little bit before on the show with Glenn and other people recently on the show, but I would not be surprised at all if Tyrese Martin is ahead of AJ Griffin at this stage. And that wouldn't worry me too much about Griffin either, because Martin is more than 4 years older than Griffin, and obviously further ahead in his development cycle. Clearly, you'd rather have Griffin as a long-term prospect. I've said that many times. Griffin's a guy that I like that draft pick, that I like that value a lot, but he just turned 19 years old, etc. Martin is a better defender right now, a better ball handler right now. Plus, he was on the court in summer league, got to play in the system a little bit more than Griffin would be at this point in time. Clearly, Griffin has higher upside, and by the way, is a much, much better shooter at this point. But if I was, just judging this coaching staff, Nate is a veteran-laden guy, likes to kind of trust his guys on defense. That should not surprise anyone if Martin is a little bit closer to playing than Griffin. But honestly, both of them, I think, will need injuries to get on the court regularly. I do think you want to see Griffin at some point, a la what did not happen with Jalen Johnson last year. I would be trying to get Griffin on the floor at some point. And if Bogey is unable to play, you might need Griffin shooting just to have another guy that actually has to be guarded out there. But big picture, I don't worry about that too much. And honestly, I think that if you just kind of removed Bogey, I think if you had to pick a top 9 that did not include Bogey, I think it would be Aaron Holiday as the most likely guy. I talked about there being a pretty clear top 8 on this roster of the starting 5, plus Bogey, Justin Holiday, and Okongwu. And then I think hopefully Jalen Johnson's number 9 on that list. I think number 10 on that list would be Aaron Holiday for me. I think the Hawks will probably trust Aaron Holiday more than guys like Griffin, guys like Tyrese Martin, if I had to guess. Maybe Mo Harkless is more of a combo 4 type just for some defense, but I think that there's kind of a pretty clear top 8. It gets a little bit below that after that, but I think that Aaron Holiday would be ahead of both Griffin and Martin if they had to kind of play through that. He could play a little bit off the ball as well with his shooting. Elsewhere, this is not really a question, but I got a couple questions about like projections that have been coming out in the last couple of days and weeks. Mark Stein had some projections, I think, earlier in September with the Cavs in the top 10 ahead of Miami, and the Hawks behind like the Pelicans, for instance. But they were ahead of the Raptors. Hawks are 15th on that list. Not a huge surprise there. Kevin Pelton has not released his full projections just yet, but on the Hoop Collective podcast in the last couple of days, he was releasing sort of the peek ahead version of those, and actually had the Hawks pretty high. He had the Hawks in the second tier of the East, along with Philadelphia and Toronto. In fact, he did sort of slip out there that the Hawks were number 4 in his preliminary projections in the East. That's the highest that I have seen anybody on the Hawks, which is pretty encouraging. I'm closer to that than I am to the consensus. I do like the Hawks this year as a theoretical exercise, but he talked about the difference of the depth of the Hawks and the Cavs, which I've been emphasizing quite a bit in terms of previous podcasts. I think that there's a lot of enthusiasm about the Cavs right now because of their top 4. But if you look like 5 through 8, 5 through 9, 5 through 10, the Hawks are a lot better than the Cavs 5 through 8, 5 through 10. And the Hawks are the best player on either team. So that's not a bad place to be there. Also, Pelton has Miami lower like I do. I'm pretty low on the Heat coming into the season. Obviously, they're very safe in that they play great defense. They're really well coached, etc. But I like the Hawks as much as the Heat, I think, at this point in time. Also, he had the Heat closer to the Cavs, and everyone on that conversation, Brian Windhorst, et cetera, acknowledged that the Nets have the widest variance, with huge upside, of course, with KD and Kyrie, but also a lot of downside based on Ben Simmons' uncertainty, Kyrie's general aura, Durant health stuff, lack of size, et cetera. So pretty interesting stuff throughout that. I'm going to save the top 100 talk, i.e. from my friend Tower Jones, who loves top 100 talk, but I'll have a lot of that probably later on in the process when they're all done. But that's more of a deep time conversation. I think those are frustrating. They could also be interesting to talk about, and that's for another podcast. But I'll answer a question now from Spirit the Hawk, who says, Zach Lowe brought up John Collins of the Suns as a potential trade target. Have you heard anything like that? Also, I will combine this with another question that came in. I don't have the name in front of me. My apologies. But somebody asked about Jay Crowder because there was a little bit of Crowder rumblings over the weekend. As far as the Collins thing, this was Zach Lowe and Chris Herring earlier in September. It was not a report. It was couched heavily that it would take probably the Hawks struggling for it to even be possible for them to trade Collins to the Suns. This is also pre-Sarver stuff. Lots of questions about that stuff. And generally speaking, I don't see a deal with the Suns. I think the Suns would probably like to have John Collins on their roster. I think he's better than the guys they have, but I think the Hawks, you would probably have to have someone like Cam Johnson in it. I'm not sure if the Suns are trying to do that at this point in time. So I did see that. I've not heard anything like that. I think the Suns probably made a call at some point, as most teams did, about John Collins. But when you get into I probably do a whole deep dive on this. But between the matching salary concerns, the fact that the Suns are obviously trying to win now, but I wouldn't want to give up a ton for Collins. I don't see that as very likely at this point in time. As for the Crowder aspect, the Hawks could use Jay Crowder. He would be a very solid backup forward for them. He's more of a 4 at this point in time than a 3. And also, he's making like almost $10 million this season, something like that. I think the Hawks would have some trouble getting to that number. Maybe like a Justin Holiday and Mo Harkless would get them pretty much to the same level. But why would the Suns do that? They probably wouldn't. Would the Hawks want to send an asset back? Probably not. The Hawks are already out several first-round picks for the Dejounte Murray trade. So in a simple form, I think that Crowder would help the Hawks. I think that's not a super likely thing to happen at this point in time. Next question comes from Steve, who says, I know you like Justin Holiday, but I am so mad at ownership for not re-signing DeLon Wright. He would have helped with the depth, et cetera, et cetera. The question is, though, so why have the Holidays, Justin and Aaron, when we could have signed DeLon Wright? Aaron and Justin Holiday's salary is about what DeLon Wright got. Is that correct? Is this a fair criticism? Which side would you rather have between the Holidays and DeLon Wright? First there, I love DeLon Wright. I miss him already. I'm obviously definitely pro DeLon more than pretty much anyone. You can't really do this, though, as a hypothetical because they got Justin in a trade. They couldn't just have, hypothetically, and I'll do that in a second, but they got the Justin part of this in the Kevin Huerter trade. They signed Aaron Holiday to the minimum. DeLon actually still making more than them combined. So that's part of this. Is obviously more of a hypothetical thing, but just for logical speaking, you can't really do this because of the fact that Holiday came in a trade, had to match salary with Huerter, et cetera. Now, if the Hawks were not concerned about the tax, I think they probably would have tried to sign DeLon. I would have tried to sign DeLon. It's not my money. So I think that the Hawks would be a better team right now if they had just gotten DeLon Wright to re-sign on bird rights. And also, they could still have, if they wanted to, they still could have made a Kevin Huerter trade. Now, I think I've been on the record many times that the Huerter trade was at least partially motivated by money. I do believe that. Obviously, the first round pick potentially that could be coming in that deal definitely helps things. But I think the urgency to do that was money driven and trying to clear the decks a little bit with the tax stuff. But I think that the best case scenario for the Hawks, even if you assume they still do the Huerter trade, would be to have just kept DeLon Wright and paid him what the Wizards paid him. And then basically you have DeLon instead of Aaron. And then you also have Justin on the roster. Or you could just still have Kevin Huerter, obviously. But if we assume that's already done. As for the actual question of whether I'd rather have Wright or both Holidays, I think that both Holidays probably is the right answer there, but only because you don't have Huerter on this roster and you need a wing. I think DeLon is still obviously can play the wing. I think Justin is an underrated player, and I think just having both of them maybe comes closer to liking both of those guys. But again, I think what they probably could have done and maybe should have done is keep DeLon and then still do the Holiday thing. I do think that DeLon is a better player than Justin Holiday, but not by a huge margin. I think that Justin is a very valuable sort of rotational wing player, play a little bit of defense, etc. So interesting question, and obviously you're appealing to my DeLon Wright love, but it doesn't really work that way necessarily. And I think that big picture, the gripe you would have about not bringing DeLon back would be the tax avoidance part of that, and not just paying him, because the best version of this Hawks team would have simply had DeLon Wright in the Aaron Holiday role, because DeLon Wright is better than Aaron Holiday. And yeah, he's a lot more expensive. You could maybe argue that Aaron Holiday for the minimum versus DeLon for $8 million. Maybe rather have Aaron Holiday, but if it's not your money, it's not my money. The team would be better if they still had DeLon Wright on it. So there you go on all of that. Okay, we'll have more mailbag questions in the future. I can assure you, we're back to 4 or 5 times a week. By the way, as the season is nearing, but we'll have some game action to talk about in the next week and a half or so. But before we get to all of that stuff, we'll have one more break. But after the break, this is going to be the end of me talking on this episode. And I said this a little bit earlier on the podcast to sort of tease it out. But when I posted the bonus video / audio of Nate McMillan and Landry Fields from Friday, people were asking about more of this. I wasn't going to post the entire 3+ hours of video, but people were mostly asking about whether I had the video / audio of Trae Young and Dejounte Murray. Mostly Trae, but I'll throw Dejounte in there as well, sort of his first public comments since the trade press conference that actually happened. So if you've not seen these, or if you want to see these, it's about 20-ish minutes combined, about 10 each for Murray and Trae, and there's video on this if you want to watch on YouTube, and also the audio is coming through as well. So we'll have one more break from our sponsors, and then we'll come back with Dejounte and Trae in that order. And by the way, please subscribe to this podcast. Please tell a friend about the show. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Follow the show at Locked On Hawks on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter if you'd like to, at BT Rowland. And after the break, we'll come back. It'll be Dejounte Murray and then Trae Young.
Good morning. Again, welcome to Atlanta, Dejounte, and we're happy to have you here. Two-part question, if you can. Give me your thoughts on your first media day so far with the Atlanta Hawks, everything that they have going on. And then just kind of let me know what your thoughts are heading into the training camp, some goals that you've set for yourself to start the season off.
I mean, it's smooth, trying to get in, get out, but also enjoy it while I can. A new journey, new team, same mindset. But mainly just trying to enjoy and learn everybody and, just go through the process, enjoying it. Far as camp, just ready to go compete, earn everything and, earn my coaches, my teammates' trust, from showing up on time, working hard, asking questions, and just leading by example.
You and John and Trae got a chance to participate in Pro-Am back in Seattle over the summer. Just what were your thoughts about your guys' early chemistry, and how do you guys think you'll be able to capitalize on that moving forward? I
think more so, Jamal Crawford, does a great thing, putting on the Pro-Am back home. We don't have a team, so, he bring a lot of pros, and I try to play, once every year. I reached out to them guys and, asked them if they could come, and they took time out of their schedules and came, so I was thankful for that, but more so, when they got there, I told them let's take advantage of it and, have fun and just try to learn each other, not just go mess around. So, like I said, I was thankful for them to, come out there and play, but more so just took advantage of, getting to know each other.
Raphael Haynes with the three-point conversion. Two questions. First, speaking of the Pro-Am, do you think that we'll see the three-part alley-oop with you, Trae, and John if it presents itself in the NBA, or in the game, I should say? And then also, knowing the fact that y'all go on this long trip, how excited is it to basically get a chance to bond with the other teammates?
Your first question, the goal is to win, win games. So, you may see things like that, or you may see more smooth things, try not to be too flashy, but also have fun while we're doing it, so you'll definitely see lobs. That just happened in that moment. But, for your second question, going to Dubai, that's different for me as an individual. I'm not a guy who travel overseas, so that's going to be real different, but, I think it's good for the game. It's good for the fans, try to grow the fan base, and just it's different. And I think us as Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks is, going to go out there and represent the NBA, represent our families, and most importantly, our organizations, and, go out and compete and have fun.
Hey, Dejounte, we saw you working out with LeBron James in Seattle, and I believe you all have a relationship that goes back a little ways. I was going to see if you could tell us a little bit about that friendship.
That's a great dude, a great man, a great father, a great leader, great basketball player, somebody that took me under his wing, around 17 years old. So, I'm always preaching I'm thankful and grateful, because I mean that, and I'm just thankful to have somebody like that in my corner, guiding me off the floor and also on the floor. So, that's a great dude, and I appreciate him.
Dejounte, in the NBA, especially when it comes to guards, being able to work together, being able to play together, being able to, play off of one another. And I know one of the questions that a lot of people had coming in, I knew you and Trae have a great relationship, was obviously, can two ball-dominant guards play well together? Do you think you and Trae have a little bit, do you all want to prove something to the league, or is it just something that you really just don't care about and you just want to go out there and play the game?
I think it ain't really proving nothing to the lead. It's proven to the people that do believe in us, which is the organization that made, the move to bring me to this team. I ain't trying to step on no toes. They have a great thing going here. Trae, earned the rights of who he is and, this organization. I'm coming to help. When I said I wanted to come to Atlanta and I came to Atlanta, it's more me fitting in, and also it's allowing me and Trae to grow our game playing off the ball, and when you could do many things in this league, you allow yourself to win. So, I think it's a great challenge for both of us, but at the end of the day, we both are smart basketball players. People don't add in that we both average 9 assists, and that's just showing that you got two guards that's unselfish. Everybody use the ball dominant or this or that, but what about averaging almost 10 assists? And I think that's huge. So, the goal is just to push each other, grow through the ups and downs and, just go out and win basketball games, figure it out. And I think we will do that.
Hey, Dejounte, AJ from Hawks Fan TV here. Wanted to ask if you could give Hawks fans a preview of what type of brand of basketball that we're going to be watching this season with you guys as a unit.
You're going to see the ball moving. I think that's the number one thing, playing the right way. A lot of excitement, playing defense. And like I always said, I love defense. So, and I believe the best offense is, getting a stop and getting down and running. So, I'm just excited. We got a lot of weapons around us, dudes that could do a bunch of things. So, it starts on the defensive end and, it'll translate to the offensive end and it'll be exciting.
Dejounte, you come from an organization that's played good defense for a long time there with Pop. In your experience, what's it take to kind of build that, culture to where you have good defense and it's expected?
I mean, if you want to win, then you're going to be willing to buy in. Effort, showing that effort. Not all guys could, be elite defenders, which is just the realistic of things, but showing effort and just trying, you never know what could happen. So, I'm just going to try to, bring what I learned and what I love to do, which is to play defense and try to help my team, in any way, whether it's leading, by example or leading vocally. So, I think everybody will buy in, because if you want to win, you have no choice but to buy in.
Hey, Jack Trush with Hawksology. What do you expect, or what should we expect to see on the defensive end from the trio of you, DeAndre Hunter, and Clint Capella?
It's not just about us three. Everybody has to buy in. Everybody will buy in. And, we're just going to push each other. You push each other, set goals to where we could push each other and make it fun, whether it's, getting these steals or these blocks or rebounds, whatever, just push each other. And, I feel like if we do that, and make some fun out of it, it'll be an exciting year.
Hey, I know you talk about you and Trae both being unselfish players, but when you know that you're going to go on the court 82 games together, what excites you the most about probably you guys are one of the best backcourts in the country right now?
For me, I try not to, get in the rankings, all that backcourt stuff, I think mainly is just, going out, having fun, competing, learning each other. It starts in a workout. It starts in practice, the film room. It's a lot of stuff that we could do to help translate to the games. And 82 is a long season, so like I said, through the ups and downs, we just got to push each other, stay focused, stay positive, and it'll be a great outcome.
Of course, you want to always better your game, but is there anything specific that you want to work on that would help you in this role with the Hawks?
Everything. Also, more catch and shoot. I've been working on a lot of that this summer. but mainly just everything. You know, I'll never just be content, you know, with anything in my life, you know, from off the floor to my profession, which is basketball. So, you know, I'm growing in everything, and I want to grow in everything, and I always feel like there's room to improve.
Both Landry and Nate have talked about how impressed they've been with everybody's conditioning coming into the open runs and everything like that. What has impressed you about your new teammates, and how do you guys think you'll be able to compete against each other in training camp?
The most thing I've been, you know, impressed by is just everybody showing up. We had a bunch of guys in. They said it was the most guys that's been in the past few years. So I think that just shows the focus, the dedication, and, you know, the excitement that everybody has. So, you know, to see everybody here the first, second week of September explains everything, knowing that camp starts tomorrow.
Dejounte, what are your early thoughts on the city of Atlanta? I'm not sure how long you've been living here, but tell me your early thoughts about the city, the fans, the culture here.
I mean, you know, I'm going to learn it. I'm more like a homebody person. I don't really get outside because I just be so focused on, you know, growing and trying to find different things to do, but also in my job, studying it and playing it. And, you know, I'm going to learn the city as the time goes and just try to learn as much as I can, and, you know, also, you know, be physical and get out so people could see me. You know, youth, kids, I love kids. So, you know, I know there's a lot of kids and youth around the world, but, you know, I'm in Atlanta now that needs help and guidance. So, you know, I'm going to get with our organization and, you know, grow in that stage.
Terrell Thomas, These Urban Times. Two-part question again. A long trip over to Dubai, so I want to know, like, what are you listening to? What'll be on your podcast on the ride, on your iPod rather, on the ride, on the plane ride over? And then I saw you with some dope kicks on your feet as well as you was walking around the facilities. Could you let me know what your favorite sneakers to ball in are?
I mean, I listen to, you know, a lot of hip hop, a lot of stuff that I could relate to in my life, you know, growing up. So it's a bunch of artists, just shuffle a bunch of artists. And then also, I mean, I'm a New Balance athlete, so, you know, it's been going into my 4th year. You know, they take care of me, and it's a family thing. So, you know, I try to represent them just like they represent me.
Now that you're here in Atlanta, definitely the stars, you know, comes out to these games now. How fun would that be, being able to play in front of these celebrities rooting for you, first row and everything?
I mean, it'll be a nice thing because at the end of the day, you know, we represent, you know, Atlanta, so it'll be good. Hopefully, we could bring the city together even more, you know. But for me, I lock in, man. When I'm playing, I don't really realize who's there. So, you know, I'm trying to win games by any means. But you know, I think it'll be great, you know, to see, you know, a bunch of successful people, you know, come together and you know, just bring some positivity to the city. See you guys later.
Good afternoon, Trae. Happy to have you back for another season. Two-part question. Can you talk to me about your summer? We've seen you this summer. You know, we've seen you in pro-ams. We've seen you debuting your new sneaker. Congratulations on that. Could you talk to me about your summer? And then secondly, could you talk to me about some of your goals and what you may have set for yourself in this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great summer for me. My son was born June 2nd, and then I really got to go out to LA and start working and training for this next season, July 15th. And I've been out there just training and locking in, and I brought some of my brothers out. JC, I brought him to LA to play in the Drew after everybody's trade rumors and everybody's talking and everybody's saying stuff. And then we went up to Seattle and we hooped up there. So it's been a great summer of hooping and playing and getting better, and just ready to go play this year.
Trae, Raphael from the three-point conversion. First, how has it been? It's like every time I turn the TV on, you're all over. So just the marketing, commercials, and everything. And then plus, coming into your 5th year, I believe, is there anything specific that is like, now I want to work on?
First, yeah, it's cool being on all the TVs and stuff with the new commercials and things like that. Obviously, always got some new stuff coming up that y'all don't even know about. so be on the lookout. But nah, this year I'm just so locked in on winning a championship and nothing else. Like, that's pretty much it. And I always want to get better in all my areas of my game, so I'm always trying to get better offensively. No matter what I do, leading points and assists, I still feel like I can get better offensively in certain areas. And then defensively, I feel like I'm always going to try to get better, and I need to continue to get better on that end. And getting stronger, and is one of my main focuses this summer. It's been great, so I'm looking forward to going out and playing.
Hey, Trae, could you tell us what you learned from working out with Stephen Curry and his trainer this summer? And also, did you put on some weight?
Yeah, great second question. I always putting on, trying to keep more muscle on me than fat. And as I get older, I'm gonna always get stronger. So, working out with Brandon, Steph a couple times was great. I'm a sponge to learning new things. So every year I try to get better and try to add something new to my game. And so being able to work out with Brandon, was great. Learning so many mechanics and little things and little details that really matter to great shooters that most people don't even know. I was able to really learn, and just want to continue to learn. I don't know it all still, but I feel like I know a little bit more.
Trae, to your left, Nate talked about going out to Oklahoma City for a couple days and working out at your place with you and talking to you. Can you just talk about what you got out of that? And I'll have a follow-up.
We got a lot out of it. I think we both got to spend some time with each other and learn a little bit more about each other. Him coming down, obviously wanting to talk about what we can get better at, and then playing a little bit off the ball, and then me also being able to tell him how I grew up playing off the ball, and I had to learn how to be a PG, and so I know how to do a little bit of off the ball playing, and so we got to learn a lot from each other, and got to work on some things, and so it's been great, and I'm looking forward to the season.
He also talked about more of an intangible, off-the-court level, you guys communicating more and you maturing, becoming even more of a leader than whatever you are now. Could you just sort of address that, your communication with him, that maybe it needed to get a little better than what it's been?
I think anybody's communication can get better. I think everybody's, I think being static and not wanting to improve in anything is not good for you. And so, me and Nate's relationship is really, really good. And talking is something that we both need to continue to get better at. We want to continue to lead this team and winning a championship. So that's our goal. We want to win a championship. We don't want to win anything else. So we're trying to figure out how we can get better, and that's one of the areas that we talked about how we can get better at. So.
Hi, Trae. Lauren from the AJC. I'm just curious, when did the idea of playing with Dejounte kind of start to excite you, and what are you looking forward to most about teaming up with him?
It was exciting to me as soon as I heard it was a possibility. Just knowing his game and what he brings to to a team. It's hard to really point out what he's great at, but he's good at everything, like defense, scoring, passing, really rebounding, playmaking. He's really good at everything. So just having somebody, who's, just as a competitor as I am in the backcourt with you, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to start playing.
For whatever amount of time that you move off the ball this season, you led the league in assists last season. You're one of the great passers in the league. How do you take that and translate it to those situations where you're off the ball, coming at it from new angles? Does that excite you, or are there challenges to that?
Yeah, I also led the league in points last year, too, in total points. So I can score the ball, too. I know how to score the ball. So it's going to be times where I can strictly focus on scoring, and that's fun. I've had to do both, for a long time, and trying to get everybody involved and as well as score, too. So it's going to be fun having somebody like Dejounte who he comes off a pick and roll and I'm in the corner and my man's got to pick, either choose the roll man or leave me open. So, it's going to be pick your poison. So I'm looking forward to it, and people don't have to, give us credit before it's due. So I'm ready to go show it.
Hey Trae, it's AJ from Hawks Fan TV. First off, congrats on the birth of your son, man. I know you got
Appreciate
your
it.
hands full, probably, man.
Yeah.
So wanted to ask, with the Eastern Conference, seemed like a bit of an arms race with teams stacking up and getting better. This probably the best Eastern Conference we've seen in a long time. Does it give you faith that the franchise actually made a move to get a guy like Dejounte and build around you and build and show that they prove to you that they want to win?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's my message. To them every time I talk to them is how much I want to win. Like, obviously, what I'm gonna be based off of is winning games and winning championships. So, because stats don't do enough. So, for me, that's been my focus from day one since I got drafted, and it still is today. So, I'm just trying to win, and with them getting Dejounte, understanding where we were at the end of the season, the playoffs, and knowing what we needed to do to get better, I think really just shows their commitment as well, like you said, to winning. And obviously, I always appreciate that aspect.
Hey, Trae, Sam Crenshaw with a question. Coach Nate earlier talked about who are we? Are we the team that went to the Eastern Finals or the team that had to fight their way into the postseason? How do you answer that question? Or will we get the answer to that question as the season goes on?
Yeah, don't nobody in this room know those answers to that question. But those guys in the locker room, or the guys that I know who we had dinner with last night, we all believe what we can do, and we believe we can win a championship. I know I do. And, I express that to my teammates, and I know they have that same mentality. So, it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of us or anything like that. It's all about what we can do and what we show. So I'm just ready more than ever to go out there and play this year so we can show that.
Hey Trae, Jack Trush with Hawksology. Just wanted to ask, lots of shooters are also great screeners. What are some ways that setting screens will help you impact the off-ball playmaking for your teammates?
Yeah, I think obviously great shooters are great screeners because they know their man isn't going to leave them. So if you're a great screener, you know you're going to get your big man open. And so I know that. I've got my teammates open from setting screens. I know I can. That's why I want to get stronger. So that's why. So when I hit these big fellas, they feel me too. So that's what it is. So I know I got to get my teammates involved by screening too.
Hey, Trae, not a basketball question, but what are your bracelets that you're wearing on your wrist for?
Oh, my bracelets, I got a little Evil Eye bracelet that I got with hearts, and I got my Titus. I always got my son now representing. Got my name.
Thank you, Trae.
Appreciate it.
Oh.
My man
One more? Okay.
Oh, man.
Thanks, man. You almost got away.
Nah, I'm cool with it.
All right. Hey, to follow up a little bit on what Jeff asked you about with Nate, again, sort of was talking about wanting to communicate better. And so I don't say it sounded rocky, but maybe that you guys weren't on the same page as much as he would like to be last season. What does that mean to you in terms of trying to improve that relationship and that communication?
Yeah, I think you reaching. I think you trying to reach for something that ain't there. So I think the relationship ain't rocky. So whatever you was trying to search for ain't there. It ain't rocky. I think, like I said, we can all be better in areas. Like we're trying to get better. We're not trying to stay the same. So how can you do that as a point guard? For me, like I said, I had to grow to learn to be a point guard. So I've always been a leader by example. So now that I'm a point guard since 8th grade, 9th grade, I'm still learning how to be a leader by vocally, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's not that I don't do it, it's just how can I be better? And I think that's what Nate is talking about. And so our relationship is great. My teammates love me, and I love my teammates, and we about to go try to win this championship.